Welcome to the Viking Mindset e-learning channel, where we'll discuss how we can build a solid identity using our boundary. And this bears repeating. With healthy boundaries, we have the tools to solve pretty much any problem we have, as well as building a solid identity. I learned all this from Dr. Paul Dobranski's online seminar, Mind OS. If you can find it, it'll be the best money you've ever spent. I will try to find it and add a link in either the description or the comments. So your identity consists of your preferences. And if you don't have preferences, your boundary in this case would be vague in shape. If I were to draw a circle to represent your boundary and it had lots of huge gaps in it, it might not even look like a circle anymore. It could be a square or a triangle. It's hard to tell what it is. And that's like your identity. If you don't have preferences that define your boundary, things you say yes to and the things you say no to, then you don't have a very well-defined identity. If you go around saying, I don't care, anything will do, I'll have whatever you want for dinner, or I'll wear whatever clothes you want me to wear, or whatever you want to do is fine, we'll go anywhere you want, you're not presenting a solid identity to others or living in one yourself. Your boundary is what gives you preferences and budgets all your internal resources. And to use Dr. Paul's example, I tell people that I'm a person who says no to soccer and yes to NFL football, the Raiders. I mean no offense, but I typically say no to country music and yes to rock. I also tend to say no to Chevy and yes to Toyota. So doesn't that give you just a little bit better idea of what my identity is? Don't you feel like you know me just a little bit better just from these three superficial preferences? Having preferences helps define your identity for yourself and others. For example, if that's your boundary and these are the size of the holes in it, that's how big your lack of preferences is, or your inability to say no, tolerate rejection, or to suffer through. So if this is your identity, what's its shape? Is it a triangle? Is it a circle? What is it? It's hard to know it's hard to know who you are. But if instead you say no to soccer, no to country music, no to Chevy, etc., and you have a more solid set of preferences for every aspect of your life, every detail, you say yes to this and you say no to that. That's what helps establish your identity and saying, this is exactly who I am. If you didn't know exactly who you were or what the cause of a problem was, how could you even begin to work on solving it? This is also why when you have a problem in your life that feels vague, when you use vague words like I don't know, or something's not quite right, or I feel overwhelmed, or I'm kind of confused, I don't really know how to describe the problem. Anytime that you use vague language like that, there's a boundary issue involved with the problem every single time. Healthy boundaries make you much less vague, so they make the problems outside of you a lot less vague as well, because you know what you can control and what you can't. Another thing about having holes in your boundary relates directly to situations with other people. Inside your boundary, you're full of gold. You've got your own personal Fort Knox inside there. Actually, there are four types of treasure inside you: self-esteem, intellect, your decisions, and your wisdom. When you have holes in your boundary like this, it's like having a personal Fort Knox, but leaving the doors open. So other people can come along and say, wow, free gold, thank you. When you have wide open holes in your boundary like this, anyone can just come along and take your stuff. They can take over your free will and start bossing you around. Have you ever been bossed around by romantic partners or friends or bosses or parents? Well, you left the window open for them to come in and take over your decision-making power. Have you ever been told what to believe? Or have you ever had someone come in, peek through the window and tell you how to feel or how you should feel? That's all caused by allowing these holes in your boundary.